Okay, action items review. Communication things, posting still in progress. Public works, there's daily garbage pickup. I think it's arranged that now.
Yeah, we're gonna be upping it to 3 days a week because the bins are so small.
3 days a week.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Just so you know, mine will be empty all the time.
Towfiq communication time will hire an accountant, which has been done.
Yeah.
So going to be half and half until we, unfortunately, we're losing a lady. She's moving with her husband to Vancouver.
Mhm. Are we gonna have a luncheon or something for her or no?
Yeah, we give her, she gave a proper notice period.
Yeah, cause she gave us proper notification and stuff and.
Youth coordinator position
Is in progress.
in progress.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to make plan for rotating programs at band office, that's in progress. Slowly. Crystal and Josh are working on the UNBC and CBC MOU renewal. And also the education policy. People gives 4 options to separate elder society from band operations, what's in progress. Wendy's contact pecans. And sheriff housing manager in progress. Christine and Josh are working on the fall education policy.
Just an update on VCAN stuff, they're gonna, they are gonna email their CC Towfiq and some of the stuff that we wanted to share, so hopefully that'll be sometime next week or the week after. He's working on it, so just so you know, John, so it'll be you and Derek and then CC Towfiq.
And the final one, should have been in camera for first. Still needs to make presentation at the community. She has agreed she will be here in person.
Yeah, and also in the presentation, Sonia sent the agreement, so we're gonna review it in the slot.
Organization chart, I'm pretty sure that's probably been done by now. Page was pretty on the ball. Well, that's fine.
It's okay.
Stuff was in camera. Robert and Josh. Hopefully they'll make it to the ministers meeting. They have to cancel on the last time and now they've scheduled it. So.
Schedule, too.
April 29th.
April 29th.
Oh, okay.
I got scared.
I said May. I said May. So May 28th, 29th, and then the first, May 1st. April.
Thank you.
Change to April.
Okay.
It all depends if they have this, because they needed confirmation from ministers, that's why they have to reschedule. So.
And they also told that suggested that to get refundable air ticket and refundable hotel booking. So that if any confusion, they can cancel it again.
Oh, is there anything else on the minutes from March 15th? Can I get a mover? Crystal, seconder Wendy. And then we have Gbenga, natural resources. Oh, no, sorry, so what? Here I'm trying to jump. That's a lot. Yeah, trust me, these are forced. Isn't there ACP term last time?
Is that okay?
Do you want to wait for a little bit to warm up first?
I'm sitting on the sun.
Yeah, and they come back and get hot. Well,
I always love that. It's always the first one.
I've done it.
Yeah, perfect. 11. That's 11.
Now they were participating at least.
You say 10?
Yes, you know the cover first.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm already on.
I got this. Oh, good morning, so.
Sorry, I was like, double book.
Where you Okay, well, no, it's okay, I don't think it's all this. I'm sorry, that's a minute,
States. Most person overseas background and working. You have the floor. Right, so I have few different bits today. First one will be account trapping. So after last discussion, mine with council, I did have a chance to meet with them. So we discussed a few different things. One of that is this could be a short-term stay place after people do their detox, that kind of stuff. She brought it in very high level, but she did express that she would be interested to in whatever direction council wants to go to be a part of this. Now, bigger problem is the insurance of the property. So we are in a new fiscal year. We couldn't do the insurance. The reason is the insurance underwriter needs two different things. Number one is valuation. So for valuation, it's not a lot of money. It's about $2,500 to get the valuation done for the property. But the bigger piece is the purpose of use, intended purpose of use that we have to express to the insurance underwriter before they can quote it. And that's largely dependent on the risk factors they want to calculate, right? So that brings the question again on the table: what would be the intended use? Another thing, what insurance wants to have it insured is someone living out there. Someone needs to be there. Whatever we have in place right now, that one person going out in once in 2 days, 3 days interval doesn't work. It won't work going forward.
So how would that work if we have somebody living out there? Would they have to pay like, would we be like rent wise or no, or just they're part of the
Usually we don't
package?
usually we don't charge rent.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they have to be in there. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, okay.
So basically, all insurance care about is someone's in there, so that minimizes the risk, right?
Mhm.
From insurance perspective. But from our side of things, we need basically three things answered. One is what we are doing with it, because we are spending money on it.
Okay.
Even if it is not insurance. Second thing is how we can manage that someone being on site. Third one is the valuation, the easiest one. So that's on your table to discuss what you want to do and the purpose of use. One thing I could do, sorry. One thing I could do, I could reach out to Northern Health. If you can give me some directions that these are the things we want to look at, I can reach out to Northern Health. I can reach out to FNHL Chimera to see if there are funding opportunities available to make this operational. That's one thing I could do.
Yeah, that's good. We had the discussion previously, I guess, but that might take some time. We don't have that time in order to make the insurance effective for the new year, right? And previously, Council, if you recall, Derek Bolen proposed us something that we should do. He was interested to live there. He doesn't have any problem. But again, it was like a concern that how long we're going to put him in. So if we have the operations there, if we give him some, let him move there, and then like within 2-3 months later, tell them no, to move out.
No. But this is something like that.
But it could be like Clayton owns it, it's ours, and we have our own property manager that would just stay there, regardless of what it was meant for.
Like a property space.
There'll be a space for the property manager.
Yeah.
Some things to take into consideration when we do put somebody out there, depending on where we go with what we're gonna use the camp for. They'd have to do all the searches and everything. So
Yeah.
be good because it's not to have somebody out there and then, they don't fit the qualifications. Then
We do all those to be in the same.
Yeah.
So should be good. Crystal?
I say I like Jawad's idea of contacting Northern Health because I think like some of these can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, trapping that's kind of along the lines is what we wanted it for, right? Is some sort of detox or a recovery, obviously because it's lacking. I think that would be
Addictions, yeah, addictions again.
yeah. And in the meantime, Derek, has Derek changed his mind on that thing?
We would have to ask her.
Yeah. Just some
A person, but I think he was in the works of looking to buy a place. So.
But you can ask him. It doesn't hurt to ask. Find out.
Because
Is he interested?
like,
Yeah.
we'll just skip that process to find someone permanently instead of batching this, because then we still be at the process of finding a permanent person. And with how far it gets to drive to work, I don't know if we'll want to extend that further than down there too.
But we can ask him.
Yeah.
Find out.
Ask
Go from there. Even if she wants to live there for a year. It gives us a year to find somebody.
So Towfiq's gonna ask her.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. This will be coming off your name. I just like.
It's not a judge question. You won't be taking over control. Does that mean public works have to maintain the garbage or anything from out there? I just wanted to clarify that. Or will you be taking over all that services?
There shouldn't be much garbage until it gets filled, and then we could work from there.
Yeah.
It only needs personal garbage if he goes out there for at least 6 months.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that
Um,
the crew has to drive that far to service or not.
so that would have to be negotiated for him. Person should help or help me have garbage.
Well,
It may- there.
one thing is, sorry to interrupt, but one thing is when he is just there and we are still finding out that how we can fund it, what we are going to do with it. And for that time period, we can still continue Jamie Stapleton's contract or discontinue depending on how it goes with Derek. Because Solomon's, it's basically 1 minute, right? And personal garbages, I think whenever he's coming to work, he can just basically out to his truck, right, or whatever they go. That needs to be worked out, whether or not we will be discontinuing Jamie Stapleton's contract. But I think it would be worth keeping him for a while so that Derek kind of knows it, that works what, and then we can discontinue, because I don't want to discontinue in the middle of like I don't know anything situation.
Yeah.
So if that's fine, then do I take that direction that we would be looking at detox and those recovery things into our primary consideration and initiate some discussion with Northern Health and find out other avenues which we could be worked out.
Are we going to run into any HR issues with their working full time and city housing manager and then going out there and being the property manager?
I can answer that question. So, previously, what we had, the discussion was like, Derek will be working as housing manager, but he told that I don't mind to live there as long I don't mind to drive back and forth from office and that place as long as I don't have to pay the rent. So, but property manager, I guess, like that is totally separate because he will perform as a housing manager operation. Property manager, the plan is like it has a discussion between Alan and me initially.
that once we have all the property, that can the property say if we go for buying the big investment, that time we need some property manager, high skilled property manager, who is able to manage every rent, every lease, agreement, recovery the rent, all those stuff. The dedicated person, I think like it is totally different from there. And even like if that person we don't know yet that whom we're gonna hire or who is the person, that person might not be interested to live in camp trapping. That person will only tell that I'm living in Twin Towers, I need to be with my family, so I don't want to relocate. That.
Go ahead. Just to add to that, I think for Derek's situation, what my understanding is, it would be a win-win situation until we can find a solid plan. For him, he doesn't have to pay rent. For us, we don't have to pay someone to live out there so that we can get it insured. So it could be a 6-month solution, for example. But going forward, when we have a plan, we will need someone more permanent to look into the facility to run the program eventually, right? So at that point of time, that person can be a property manager slash program manager for that facility. We and Derek can be relocated for whatever decision we want to make at that point of time, depending on what the plan looks like and depending on how much money we have. Right. So before that, I think it's just a win-win. He is staying without pay. We are getting someone without paying, right? And the property is there anyways.
Yeah. So that's a good plan. In addition to Zawad, so what I understand that what I saw in camp trapping, so possibly if we even relocate, if we tell Derek and if Derek agrees on that, even we need some work, the renovation work or something like that. So that is an investment, right? So if we get Derek, like say, Derek might ask that question for sure that okay, how long I will be there? Is it 6 months? Is it 1 year? So we need to give him an answer that at least 6 months or something like that. If something happen in near future, at some point we need to go relocate him. Some of the cost probably sharing something like that. And if we hire a program manager for that location, so what we can do, we can probably put it in the job description that the person needs to be on site residence. So that same residence for Derek, we can allocate that residence to the program manager who's going to run the facility. Right. So that could be a great offer, and it will attract people to come or camp trapping, which direction they go.
Yeah, with that, I think that we have to make sure this time around because her lands, she said she was going to relocate to French George and, when the job came in, it didn't. So we have to make sure that when we say that you have to be in camera. Anyways, I didn't mention names, but still. Yeah, we have to make sure that they have to be there.
Last question. We're not there. So she expressed interest. What is council's direction for me to continue discussion with her? Should I continue discussion with her, get her involved, or should I not?
She wants to do the picture, right?
She wants to be, how she said it is she wants to be a part of the overall plan and overall operation going forward. But of course, we don't know how it's going to look like, right, at this point. So, right now, what I think is what I could do is tell her that let's explore some options together and let's see how we fit in, if that's what you want to do. Because she has experience doing these things, right? We might use that experience for our own benefit, right? And connections too.
On the hypothetical, just want to be safe. If Derek says he doesn't want to, then we need a backup plan.
Yeah.
Is there going to be something put in place, or we're just we put all of our chips into him saying yes, but there's a chance that it might be a no.
Well, there's none. But what I could do is I could reach out to Jamie, who is going there. I could reach out to him and ask him if he would be willing to do something similar, which would be acceptable to the insurance folks, right? Because all I'm trying to do here is to satisfy the insurance, right? If Derek says no, then we could find out what is the least acceptable thing for the insurance and kind of reach out to Jamie that whether or not he would be willing to meet that criteria for the insurance. He might. So that could be one option to figure out if Derek says no. I don't see any other thing available right now.
Where are the beer holders? We did that tour against the kitchen.
There is none.
There's nothing.
We have to figure that out. There's no specified limit for it.
Well, not right now. I remember when we were out there, they had a person coming up to live out there for the summer. And they just lived in this kitchen area.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
We need to do some work in there.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay. So, all right. So I will ask Vernon then to getting involved in the planning and
Yeah,
see how it works out.
and see what, yeah.
And of course, I will proceed with the valuation.
Yeah.
Okay. Second is ancient forest. So after just a recap of last discussion, so I was going to do some qualifying work to be able to retender it, right? If you remember. Now, turns out when I wanted to go for the qualification of the boardwalk, I found out through the province the original scope of work, like that's an addendum to the contract itself. We all look at the contracting and I didn't have the scope of work, but the scope of work says two things. One is there is not a full replacement required. So we are to plan where there is a replacement required and where the existing one could be utilized with repairs, whatever. So to have that, like until now, I was under the impression that the funding is for replacement of the boardwalk, which is not. So then I reached out to the engineering firm that whether or not any survey has been done on the existing boardwalk, because even if we want to replace some of it, we need some survey done. So there was no survey done. There are some LiDAR data available with the province. I reached out to the relevant ministry as well, so we received the LiDAR data, but reviewing the LiDAR data, that's not enough to kind of be able to utilize for these structural planning purposes. So we needed to do a survey done before we can properly quantify for tendering. So that being said, the survey is going to happen next week with snow melting. One more step.
Did they know that?
Yes, Scouting's doing it.
But did they know this?
Gray area.
Yeah.
They said, just off record, they said that it was not brought to their attention. And now there's no point of playing game.
Yeah.
So, so I just need to get the work done. So basically, now the survey will be done next week. What we are doing that we are not letting them do the survey alone. We will be there with the survey work. So the survey will provide information of the work where we can do minor replacement, where we have to just replace everything, where we can do minor repairs. And when I have it, hopefully nothing else is required from our understanding, and we should be able to quantify the work. That being said, another thing is in the contract, there is an interpretive center, as you know, in the parking lot site of the ancient forest. So the architectural drawing I have is over 3,000 square feet. I think I mentioned this in the last meeting. So in the original scope of the contract, it is 1,300 square feet. But the original drawing, original contract doesn't specify the details. For example, should we have the staff quarter or not? those kind of details. So if we have to have an interpretive center based on how we want to design it, it might require a staff, it might not require a staff. It largely depends on how we want to see it after it is built. But it is a significant portion in the contract of the funding. So I want to ask you, what do you want me to do? We could redraw it for a 1,300 square foot or something similar, or I could keep as it is, like over 3,000 square foot. It will be significantly more expensive to build, but have the structural drawing done. If I get 1,300 square foot into consideration, we can have staff work and those things. But if we have what we have right now, that would have the provision for having staff housing.
So if we have some staff out there, we need, what's the infrastructure of the water and everything else going to look like and stuff like that, and how far is that scope going?
Yes, so for the water and sewer, so I think we have to do sewer work anyways, and we have to do some water work anyways. It might extend a little bit, but not very extensively that we cannot achieve it. It's mostly the cost is in the structure itself and how much money we are requiring to build it. To me, I'm really confused in this one because for a 3,000 square foot facility, it will be $1.5 million.
Actually, hearing, going back to the last project with adding all these extras, we went from 8 to 12 without that.
Well, not even the interpretive center. That 8 to 12 doesn't include that, but that does include replacement of the whole boardwalk, which we don't probably need.
Yeah.
I don't think that's required. So it might be worth spending some time doing a draft structural drawing on the existing architectural drawing and see what the quantification come up with and what is our rough estimates. Because if I don't do that, then I have to go back to the architect, start it over. It's not scalable. I can't scale it down. I can scale it up, but I cannot scale it down. So basically, if we go to the 1,300 square feet direction, it basically means that I have to start over from the scratch. So it's a dilemma.
I think it makes more sense to go with the original then.
Problem is, if I'm making it complex because it is complex.
Yeah.
Problem is, let's say we do the structural drawing. I might come back to you and say, hey, I have done it, but it's $5 million itself, and you can't do it. Then go back to the scratch.
Would our staffing be around, or are we just seasonal?
Seasonal.
Seasonal?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Seasonal. So for just one point, it helps. We have reached out to a couple of other neighboring properties who run seasonal businesses like in winter. So we talked about kind of sharing staff. Let's say there's a ski resort, they have staff for the winter, they don't have work for summer, well, come work for here. And then go back work for them, right? That could be a possibility, right? That kind of partnership can even help us having the crew without any housing facility. They can have the housing. That basically means you have more operating costs, right? We've got to think about that too. Because once you have done it, then you are on your own operating the facility. Whole bunch of different things. So,
starting this meeting up there.
That's what I was thinking. Really? I was like, holy.
I can't help you. I mean, on this one, it's super complex. It's even more complex because we have spent time, we have spent money, and we are kind of stuck now, right?
Yeah,
We can't just go back,
Yeah,
start everything
yeah.
from scratch
No,
because we
no.
have spent some money, we need to justify it, then,
Mhm.
right? So to me, if you are looking for a suggestion, to me, I think let's go ahead with structural drawing or the existing architectural drawing. Let's see if in the structural drawing we can make it scalable. If we can have one portion and rest can be done afterwards.
Oh,
It doesn't hurt doing this into phases. Let me see if I can do that. Maybe it will help going forward, and we can reach out to the funding agency and say, hey, we can do up to this much, and this is kind of roughly to your 1,300 square foot mark. And then we have to do the second part because we need to have staff in there. Might be a good discussion at that point. Okay,
And that with the funding criteria too, they're not having objection.
I hope so.
Yeah, because they told that whatever you do within our funding.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I hope so.
Within one succeed.
Yes, they want this to be done.
yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
I like that sharing staff.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's a really good
It's
idea.
so hard seasonal.
Yeah, yeah.
Partially credit goes to Shelton too, because Shelton took me to that ski facility.
Ah,
And we got that discussion going and they seemed interested.
Yeah,
It
that's-
helps them too, right? Because
Mhm.
they can't retain staff only for weekends.
Yeah.
I like that idea too. That's a really brilliant idea.
Third thing is there is a hiking trail and the sweat lodge beach house or in the school.
Mhm.
That's in the other side of the road. There's a river. So problem with that is that had not been discussed with anyone because that involves few different stakeholders, MOTI, DC parks,
Mhm.
and land acquisition. I even don't know whom else I have to talk to. One significant thing in there though, the contract itself, the funding contract doesn't cover land acquisition costs. So if we have to acquire lands, they won't cover the cost as per existing contract. So what I want to do, and I know that it would be beyond what the money we have right now. So I just don't want to do this, touch this at this point.
I thought we already did.
Yeah. Did we not?
We were in meetings after meetings after
Yeah.
meetings. We wanted to extend it.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
They agreed.
And did we not go there?
Parks.
DC parks?
Yeah.
DC parks didn't say they have much information on land acquisition. Can you give me some contacts I can reach out to
Wow.
who might have information?
Gbenga, what's your Gbenga?
Check with Gbenga
Okay.
and
Delaney maybe?
there's parks and who else was there? Each name was there.
Yeah.
BC Parks, Ramblers. They were there. I'm just trying to remember because there was a Amanda was over there and they laid out maps all over the table.
When was that? Do you know?
2015, 2016.
That makes sense. Why?
That's when I first got to the council.
Probably that's why they don't know. Maybe the people were known and it kind of buried under
No.
whatever, right? That helps that time. Okay, I'll find it out. But again, that doesn't change my recommendation because I don't want to touch this at this time because I have a lot more to do with the ancient forest on the side where the forest is. This is on the other side. That definitely starts the conversation. And I want to find out from each stakeholders what's involved and how much money we're looking at, how much work we are looking at. And I want to come up with a different set of plan to province of BC saying that we can't touch this because of this rationale. And this is the money we need and we can do it. I think that would be my idea to go about that part because it's other side of the road. MOTI will take forever to kind of give us a solution. How can we cross the highway? right? And that involves an access road and parking as well.
No.
That would be a lot of money, significant amount of money, which I can't afford right now from this spot. You agree? I don't wanna do it right now.
Okay.
So next agenda is quick, more than health. So I have had discussion with them about leasing out that house trailer where the homes are right now. So our initial preference was them having the full trailer, but they prefer to have 2 or 3 offices to begin. So we have 3 office spaces vacant in that health trailer. I mentioned to them, okay, if you think 2 to 3, then we prefer 3. They said, okay, and at this point of time, what they wanted to do is they will let us, their council know about their counter offer. I'm still at that $10,000 mark for them, and they have expressed more than one times that it is very high based on the square footage, which is true, but it comes with a lot of other perks. It's just not going straight up in a HSBC building, no offense to them, but just renting three rooms, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And well, you know, I talked to Nicole. She reached out to Nicole Bronson, and she had suggested maybe if we were able to lower the lease amount or exchanging services, different services to kind of collaborate and build the relationship within the community. So I don't know if she told
Afterwards, yeah, when she talked with you afterwards, I had a discussion with Towfiq. He came up with the idea of how about we ask some of the stuff. One was like, let us ask them for a deputation of a maybe community health nurse or community care nurse, right? So I did reach out to Nicole, and she didn't commit to it, but she said, yes, this is a good idea that we can talk about it. I have also told her that we need support for our elder society. They don't have any support in terms of funding and whatsoever, right? Services. We do need some support in terms of administrative ways for health, let's say health policy and things like that. So that discussion is still in the wind. I mean, very high level still.
So also like they can came up with some work that they can provide some in-home care support. So instead of about 3%. So that was the last discussion level. So later in the council meeting, we have in discussion about that plan. So but in order to that close health support, so it is like we can put closer to the health office. So that's the idea came in that south side, from north side to south, south side to north side, the area came in. So in camera session, we will discuss more about that administrative part.
So they did express very positively that they want to be this side rather than that side. Like rather south side, they want to be on the north side just because of the proximity of the health center and also proximity to the more people living on this side as well. So I will leave that up to you. So we just have the numbers, like, and they have said quite confidently they can't match that number, but they will come up with a counter offer with potentially the proposal that how they can blend in the services with the amount of that. And I did, after talking to Towfiq and Chief, I did mention to them that hey, we do value the services provided to the members because that's a direct impact to the members' life. Rent is rent is money, right? And that's always good. But if the impacts directly to people's life, that's what we care most about. So they will be coming back with a plan, hopefully before next council meeting.
It's also good to look at in the Declaration Act of BC and DRIPA that there are supposed to be more health services directly related to Indigenous people. So by giving them access to the buildings here, we're actually helping them cross that big chain of health services that they couldn't do without other stuff.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, so this was more like an FYI kind of agenda. Uh, Next one is community wastewater. This is also just kind of an FYI. So expected completion as of now, we are getting responses from contractors would be, this time like May 2025, substantial completion though this year, depending on how long it takes for the lift stations to come. Right at this moment, lift stations wait time is about 16 to 20 weeks. So that means about 5 months. If we don't get the lift station, that would be a part of substantial completion. So that largely pushes the timeline, but I'm hopeful it should be done by May 2025. We are still within timeline of his timeline is end of 2025, so we should be well within the schedule.
We have $6.8 million in our bank account for the project.
Oh, okay.
We got the money, it is in our bank account. Actually, we invested in JSL to get some interest.
Yeah. So, but there is some complications attached to this project. One is connection of existing infrastructure, houses mostly, and the roads, right? So that this project funding doesn't cover connections, right? So we gotta come up with some ideas to potentially fund the connections. One idea is I want to reach out to East again. I want to tap into that pot of water settlement funding. Asking them, hey, you said water and wastewater infrastructure, so we got the wastewater, but if we can't connect it, then there's no point, right? So I want to tap into that if you agree in that. But if that takes time or doesn't get approved, there can be two situations. One is worst case scenario, doesn't get approved. Then we need some money to come up with to connect all the houses, and I'm talking about Northside only. It's not for Southside and buildings like this one. Public looks for good stuff. Second case would be a little bit less worse. They accept it, but take forever to give us the money. Then we still need to get it done, get it reimbursed, because once it is there, we need to have the connections ready. So I think we need to get to the work now, so we can get the connections ready to go end of fall timeline or early spring. So I wanted to talk to housing with your permission that I want to delegate the housing side to housing and community buildings out. That's what's up. That's you take it. Because there are some items, for example, I got some, we do need to do some other major work on our side. Right now, we have a single phase BC hydro line coming in. We can get away with single phase for the lift station, but we can't get away with single phase for the drinking water system. So what I'm trying to do is kind of work ahead. We are in the design phase of the drinking water system. I want to start the work with BC Hydro to get the 3-phase in here. They will take forever too. So that once it's time, we are not kind of hindered by BC Hydro. So we are ahead in the game. Now with the wastewater thing, I am kind of band-aiding with doing sub-panels. We have checked with the electrical contractor. The single phase, the lift station is designed for the single phase. If we do just sub-panels, that should do. And to minimize our end of the cost, what we are doing is, those BC Hydro boxes you see in town. So we are doing something like that. We will be taking line from here to almost the back of the water tower, do a BC Hydro kind of outlet box, run a sub panel, and then power it from there. And this should be good enough for now. I don't want to run poles because that would be on us if we do that. I want to get BC Hydro to do it, but still have the construction done for the wastewater so that it's not delayed. Just again to you. And the hay farmers who will be impacted, especially back of that reservoir. I have reached out to lands again. I did notify lands last year that we're potentially looking at construction this year. I have notified Tania again so that she gets in contact with whoever's get affected. I don't think this side lift station area hay farmers will be impacted this year, but it's good to let them know that they might. It really depends on the lift station. I don't want to have the lift station if they come in early and sit because that would be a cost to us just to not do anything because of something else. So that discussion with lands is in place. I just let them know. Now it will be on them to figure out this is especially FYI for you so that it comes in the lands. Last thing about community wastewater is tender evaluation committee. So I will be doing the tender evaluation in second week of May, I guess. So is there anyone from the council happy to accommodate everyone if everyone wants to be in there? But if not, then whoever wants to be in the tender evaluation, part of the tender evaluation, you can let me know. I just wanted to give the opportunity if anyone wants to look at the things when it is being done. So it's here, right? Sure, of course, I know you will be, but anyone else?
Was that date to send the email to our council?
Yeah.
So yeah, before like the closer date is April 28th. We will get the evaluation done sometime mid-May or first week of May, depending on the consultants availability. So I will definitely let you know. But maybe I will send to all council, whoever is available. All right, last one. 4 pillars that development money we received. I wanted to give you a brief overview. I don't know if anything that we discussed yesterday. No. Okay. So start from scratch then. So there was a band class settlement done by the government of Canada. So it was $2.8 billion to participating 325 First Nations. Slavery is one of them. So this is for 4 pillars or 4 items to be focused on language, culture, heritage, and wellness. So they have designed the funding, the court order designed the funding in this way. We will get $200,000 for planning purposes, which we received already. So that planning funding to be utilized for a planning to be done that how we will spend this money, whatever we will receive, I will tell you how much in next 10 years. So they have some requirements with that. There is a funding agreement to be signed. So they require a project manager and an accountant dedicated to this work. So I guess accountant means our finance department, like everything else, but they require someone specific to the to this work as who will be the contact person to deal with this project. And they want a separate schedule in annual audit to reflect how much money we're getting and how much money we're spending under this particular thing. So with this planning funding, we require to provide them a plan of the project which need to address either one of these pillars, again, language, culture, heritage, and wellness, or 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever we can touch or want to touch. So when we have this plan to them upon their review and approval of their of this plan, when I say upon there, it means there is a board of trustee which has been in place to manage these funds. They will review First Nations plans. So once they approve the plan, they will distribute money, which they call kick-off start money, to all the First Nations. That can vary. That amount of money can vary from 400,000 to maybe 1 million or 1.5 million. So how they are determining that is base base money is 40% of the distribution. So they're kind of thinking about it this way: say $1 million each First Nation, so $325 million, right? So 40% of that is everyone will get. So 40% of that would be 400,000 for each First Nation. The rest of the 60% will be calculated based on the number of the people or population of that First Nation and a remoteness factor, which we don't have control over. What we will do though, we will provide them with our latest updated band membership list so that they go off the latest one, because otherwise from where they're sourcing it, we don't know, we don't have any control.
And also, possibly when we prepare the proposal, it should reflect or accommodate the on-reserve off-reserve whole membership, the wellness, language, all four pillars, so that they cannot, segregate that it is only applicable for on-reserve population. So it should be for the whole, then the reserve funding will be.
That's a very good point. So so that amount which we will receive for Kickstart will be depending on that. So there goes your 200,000 planning plus 400,000, total 600,000, and maybe another, let's say for the sake of math, another 400,000. So $1 million in your program to begin with. Now, in 10-year period, what you will receive is rest of the $2.4 billion or whatever which is left after this distribution will be invested by this trust, and they will invest it for 20 years. So next 10 years, you will be receiving interest or income from that investment in a yearly basis. So again, that amount, how much money, let's say it is generating $100, right? So that $100, again, the amount will be same, like 40% everyone gets and 60% is based on population and remoteness. So for 10 years, you will be receiving the amount earned from that initial investment, and you will have to provide them with a yearly report, detailed report, that what money you have received, what plan said, and what you have done according to the plan, and they will approve. Based on their approval, you will receive your next year's money. Make sense? After 10 years, which is in 2033, you will have to provide another set of 10-year plan, which will run same fashion for next 10 years. You will receive year after year earning from that investment. After 20 years have passed, that's in 2043, long ahead. After 20 years, the capital money from that $2.2 billion you will receive, again, based on that calculation. And then you have to spend that money again on these four pillars and report to them for 5 years, for 10 years, or until the funds are expended, whichever comes first. So that's kind of your 30 years plan for this money. It is a very long-term thing. We don't have to think about 30 years, but we have to think about the first 10 years now. So again, recap, to go for this, we need to provide them with a planning which will touch on at least one of these pillars, potentially 4: language, culture, heritage, and wellness. And this is something you could utilize for camp trapping too.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a really just minors.
Yeah.
That's a pot of money right there for your camp trapping. You're free to think about
Why did you bring this up when we were talking about?
Yeah.
That is one source of money. So, but we are looking for other revenue.
This is you are at our disposal of utilizing this money. This is the last resort.
No, I see. Okay.
This is our money. Like we can utilize in health, wellness, we can utilize in language, heritage, everywhere.
And with this funding, like our 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 population has been going up quite extendedly quick. Like, we're at what now, X amount of numbers. So what if by the time this starts, like say 5 years from now, we're at like 1,000?
It doesn't say. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I have asked that question,
Oh,
and they don't
okay.
have an answer to that yet.
Oh,
So, best case scenario, what they think would be when you are getting it at a 10 years interval, when you are getting a new plan, probably at that point of time, but they're still figuring it out, how they will be doing that calculation. But that's a good point. My argument to that was, why don't you do it in an yearly basis? Because you are providing money in an yearly basis. So whether or not it would be a fixed yearly money or the yearly money can change based on that population.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know it.
Yes. So this is a capacity building opportunity. So we discussed me and Zawad to some extent, and then we have so many funding opportunities. So some funding we cannot, sometimes we cannot take because we don't have capacity. So and also we don't have time. Time means like who gonna manage this, who gonna apply for that, who gonna manage the program, those type of stuff. So this is a base funding. Always we can tie it up. So we have a plan to hire a funding officer. Right, Zawad? We talked about
Someone who will manage this overall.
this overall. And Zawad eventually gonna oversee him. So that is the part. Because the funding not only part, we apply for funding, we get the funding, we say economic development, what they do. If they purchase a business, they give it someone to manage it. Say Jay is managing ATM contracting. Similarly, the funding officer, Java, get funding and give it to somebody to manage it. They're gonna collect the report at the year end, they're gonna prepare the report, submit to the funding agency. Something like that. So for all those process, it requires it all needs some funding, needs some resources. So this could be like this altogether could be a good resource to go for hiring a funding officer now. Economic development already is very interested because Alan needs some funding. Now is like he needs to spend a lot of time. So that is the groundwork to hire a funding officer. So I talk personally with that we are doing something, making some plan for more funding, but those are our restrictions. So we get fund, who are managing it? So these are the capacity building. So once we get some fund, if it is for 1 year, we hire somebody for 1 year. So these all are service to the membership. So everything we can tie it to I would suggest that we go for hiring a funding officer. So funding that person can. So this is something like needs somebody dedicated to oversee this project. Though we have finance. Finance can manage doing the payment and all of the recordings. But the program person who is going to manage this one is a dedicated person. So that dedicated person can work on that plus the funding application. But we need really a good skilled worker there.
I would rather spend time finding someone than hiring someone.
Yeah.
I would rather do the legwork myself for now and take some time finding the right person.
Yeah.
Then hey, no, I need someone right away. And by the way, Towfiq didn't tell me that I'm going to oversee that. He just made it up.
Okay, it's 11:03, Lori and Zawad, we gotta give you the boot. And
Sorry, one more. Just, I would need to sit with you to have a nice little this thing done. I need some info, okay, so that we can get the funds. I have to make this right away, so that the funding can come.
Remember your there's a public tournament. Every team tournament.
We can maybe. All right, thank you for your time.
thank you. Now, thank you.
Some great techniques.
Oh, okay, a break for 10 minutes.
Okay.
So,
Java.
so we'll be back
Was it this beautiful friends?
Thank you.
Testing.
think we're back. We're back. I'll just go at it.
This one back here.
Okay. Okay, we're good. So next one we have is Natural Resources Department updates. Actually, I haven't seen Gbenga yet, so. Which is on me. Yeah, really. And we're supposed to be on from 11:10 to 12, so we'll just see where Gbenga is. It was just updates.
Worst cases, we can just turn it in camera and they can come back for one. So we can get out of here sooner. Water pressure?
It's like, I saw that sign, I'm kind of like,
Yeah, like, and then you see Jason drive by, and that's the water guy. It's like, what's going on? Onions are being melted. Want to take it expired?
I was there for and second filled up. Yeah, remember we had like water shoes and it was all sandy and stuff, like on a big rock in the intake. It's a giant rock that's the same size as the pipe.
It's 4 minutes to get the chair.
It needs 4 minutes to get here.
Okay,
So can we discuss something else?
Um,
I thought that sounded neat.
You can finish your this, but as well you can.
And then it's gonna take.
okay.
It's just,
Adam, come here.
We'll move Adam up to
You're here, just.
emergency management. Adam up to, I just want to take a few.
you even had them?
Adam up to the emergency management.
They drove a truck through a bunch of kids.
It's like cartoon, it's like, I didn't know you could do that. How cartoon is that?
Adam, you have the floor.
4 minutes, right? Good. This would, Gbenga coming in a little bit later actually wouldn't be bad on this. It kind of includes him also. I was approached by BC Emergency Management Plan of Readiness. We went up to a mock evacuation in the Cloud Lake last week, and it went really well. But during that conversation, EMCR is affected by the new Emergency Management Act in BC, which includes engagement of nations whose land they reside on and who they work on. And this conversation was really good because she came to me asking, how can they work with us to help protect the things that we value on our traditional territory? And when things are happening, because we all know that wildfires happen and BC wildfire actions fires and they make fire breaks and all that kind of stuff, how can we be included in those responses? Also, one of the big things that came out of that was sacred area protection. Areas that are sacred to the nation, they want to ensure that they're not trampling on them, essentially is what it comes down to. And so what they asked is if we could provide them with some sort of information, and that whatever detail that information is all up to us, about areas that we want to be notified about if they're going to be actioning anything in the vicinity. By default, they're going to tell us everything. Anywhere in the territory, they're going to tell us, they're going to give me a call at 3 a.m. saying, hey, by the way, we're going to be doing this in the next couple days. Wanted to let you know. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I would prefer not to have that call. But it is important that sometimes those calls do need to be made at 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on what the concern is. And they want to include us in that type of response. And so my question, because this is well above my level of able to answer, is what type of details do we want to give more information to them about where areas that we would like to protect, that are like more specific of, we have a fire here, we need to action it now. we want to work with you right this second to do it. Or there'll be questions or a phone call later being like, you know what, this part of moving in this direction, we'd like you, we know this area is somewhere you guys would like to protect. Let's work together and figure out a way to do that. And so what I would recommend is we do engage with them and we do give them some sort of information. I want to work with Gbenga to figure out how, like, to map out that information. But the level of mapping is my concern, is that because I know there is areas that we don't necessarily want out there or that we might not feel comfortable sharing. And in those cases, what I would suggest is that we do a larger geographical area around that so that we're not specifying specific areas. We're saying this general area, we have things in. We don't want to necessarily tell you all about them, but we have things there that we would like to be notified if those are going to be threatened or actioned or anything like that. The other thing that I need to look into, I was hoping to have a conversation yesterday with Heather McRae, who's the regional manager for EMCR, but it went long and we didn't get to connect, is they have funding for when there is a response, having a land guardian actually be funded to go out with BC Wildfire or whoever, so that that person can say, don't go over there, go over here instead. Because this area we don't want touched or whatever it is. So it's really the detail of mapping that we need to figure out what we want to do and how we want to do that. And I think Gbenga has a really good idea of what those areas are potentially. But I think that the conversation needs to come from council as to that level of detail. So come on in, Gbenga, you're part of this too. And so, yeah, with this, my ask is that are we comfortable sharing this information with BC, EMCR, and what level of detail do we want to let them have? To be clear, I did bring up concerns of who would this be shared with, how would it be shared, what notifications do we get? I was very much told that this would be only between LTFM and EMCR, and that they would not share any other details with any other organizations or contractors or anything without our explicit permission prior to that sharing. And that information, it would only be the information that is directly related to the incident. So it would only be a very small section of the information that we would provide. So if there was an action, say, on the western side of our territory, we wouldn't be sharing stuff on the eastern side or anywhere else that wouldn't be affected by that work. So,
How would the shared territories impact this? So we have our foundation, and then we have people who, so if they have something sacred at the edge of our territory.
Yeah.
And would they should connect with them, but there's a work in our territory?
Absolutely. If it's in our territory, even if it's shared territory, if it's in our explicit territory, then we would be contacted. If it's shared territory, then both would be contacted. If that makes sense.
Well, I'm just saying because a lot of nations have extended their territories,
Mhm.
hundreds of kilometers, and
Yeah.
we may have no, deep to that land.
Yeah.
But if something happens there and it's one of our sacred areas, they would then know that we have a sacred area there.
It wouldn't be shared with anybody else.
But if it's not shared territory, it would
Yeah.
still be.
Our information wouldn't be shared with anybody else. So it would only be shared with EMCR,
Mhm.
and EMCR would not be sharing that with any other nations or anybody else. And it would only be for a response, and it would only be to the people who are part of that response. So BC Wildfire, for example, if we have, cabins or something like that, member cabins is a perfect example. That information could be provided to BC Wildfire so they can do they can go and make sure that those cabins are empty and nobody's going to be caught in the path of a wildfire. And then they can set up sprinkler protection kits on these cabins, or do some fire smarting around it so that there's a higher likelihood that those things can survive. So it can actually help our membership a lot too, because now we can actually say, okay, yeah, we have information here of things that are important to the nation or its members, protect it. So it's kind of an extension almost of, if something happens on reserve, we can have them come in and they'll do sprinkler protection and stuff like that. This is now just fanning out onto the entire territory. So, yeah.
So this could be, in order to secure the thing, we can have a non-disclosure and confidentiality agreement with them. So that like is also the information in the shared territory, the one that we have interest or concern, they cannot share with the other First Nations.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
How much detail would have to be in the map? Can it just be like secret area?
It could be a circle.
You know,
Just this area right here, if anything happens in there, tell us.
Yeah.
And then we decide from that, we can engage with them. It's not just a one and done. It's very much an ongoing engagement until that incident has been resolved. So, and we can do whatever level of detail you want. So,
That's similar to what we did for cabins. So if your cabin is here, we just put a buffer, not from the center line. You just put like 2 kilometer buffer and say, this is the circle.
Yeah.
You can't do anything within this 2 kilometers.
Yes.
And that goes round.
yeah. And then during that response, say there's a wildfire threatening there, again, we would be able to have somebody that we dictate to them, whether it's an elder or a staff member or a band member or somebody who maybe has knowledge of that area that can help guide their response in those areas and make sure that we're not hurting that area in any regard that could impact us negatively. So. So really, I'm just looking for, a little bit of direction as to how much detail we want, and we can work offline. It just is their interest in pursuing this, and we can easily work. Gbenga and I can work offline and consult you guys as usual as to.
If we have key maps, someone that would be very vague that we give to sure. And because we don't actually have a map of our sheet that says one area. And just under lock and key our people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then we can actually, if something does happen in one of those vague areas, then we can reconvene and we can say what more detail, if any, do we want to share. Right. So this is very much
I like the idea of just the circle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Makes sense, just because we have confidentiality agreement and the
Exactly.
authority to people.
Mhm.
Oh, just by accident, I'll know people here, like he does this here.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that idea too.
So
Circle map, we'll all get together and.
very general snap of
Yeah.
the assets of
Yeah.
the territory.
Yeah.
And maybe Ben and I can work together and get something together and then
Make sure we get confidentiality agreement,
Mhm.
even with the circles.
absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Pretty fast. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good job.
That's all
Thank
I got. Hey, that's what- hey, 4 minutes.
Now Gbenga lost his voice.
So, because of the change up, I guess will be the starting in camera session at 1:45 today. So the end of the day.
145.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to sit here and help you. Okay. Holy.
next computer. See if this password works. Oh, no, next.
Holy.
Oh, we got it. He's got his password.
That's absolutely.
Okay, and you have the table.
Minus my contact. Like this is. Yeah.
Really?
Not this kind of smoke.
Oh, but yeah. Yeah, I've never took my Excedrin the last couple of nights and I can really tell the difference, you know? Like, when I start taking it again tonight.
Oh, God.
But no, I can like feel my nose.
Just gonna pull this. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It looked like it was so much easier. It got way worse.
It's that bad, but this year.
You got it up more than these quarters.
I'm getting new ones. Yeah, seriously. These things cost around. I'll give them to you.
Okay, Benga, you have the table.
Thank you. So let's get up to the consonant. I just want to provide updates to some of the things we've been activities going on in the department, and most of it I know everybody knows about it. I'm starting with the most important of it all, which is the MOU. And I need council's direction on some of the issues. If you recall, the last 2 meetings.
This will be camera.
Okay.
I'll look at that one later.
The boundary signage. So I've been receiving a lot of calls and membership have been asking questions. And if you recall, I brought this forward last month, I believe, and I was asking about some of the strategies that council want us to adopt. I know we discussed a little bit on that, and some of those things were on the lookout. I know I talked about a trap line recently that is opening up and still discussing with the guy, but he hasn't given a go ahead as to how much he wants to sell it and all that. There's another one likely to open up soon. I'm still discussing with him to just have a 1 million, but he will likely sell that trap line.
This one should be in camera as well. Yeah. Do you have anything that is not in camera? Oh, okay.
So let's look at in March, I attended this workshop, and then I got to know that BC Park is actually starting the caribou breeding program. So they are going to build a caribou breeding facility in Jasper, pretty much in Jasper National Park. And the reason for that is that of the 5 herds that we have, 2 is already established. In other words, there's just 3 left, and the 3 they are in severe decline. For example, there is 1 herd that is just 10 left, and then there's another herd that is just 44 left, which is in downward trend.
Do they know why they're disappearing?
Pretty much for several reasons. Wolves, and they've been taking down wolves. There's been loss of habitat, pretty much due to activities like forestry, wildfire. There's been a little bit of study on drought and then abundance of food. But primarily in the Jasper National Park, there's been more health. So there was this thing they started several years ago. They tried to increase the number of elk on the land base, and then they grew and neglected caribou, of course, in the process of doing that. And now there is a lot of elk if you go to the Jasper National Park, whereas you only find very little number of caribou. So there's that habitat loss that has taken place over the years as well. They started taking down wolves
because there's also a huge number of wolves there. They are taking them down now.
Wendy?
Yeah, I know that in the northern areas where my biological dad was from, they're actually letting the band members kill off wolves, and when they kill off the wolves, they just report it, and then they get paid an honoraria for it, but they're not allowed to go nuts on it. You only can, I don't know what they're doing, I don't know how they did it, but apparently they're allowed to kill so many wolves because there's too many, because they're killing off the moose and, like the animals that they use for harvesting every year. Fish, things like that, up in that area. So when I was up there for my dad's services, it's like, well, like bang, bang. He's like, there was a herd of wolves that were actually right near the community, and a whole bunch of them, started just blasting away.
Yeah,
It's kind of scary.
they've had wolf hunts up north too. Like,
Yeah.
and you get paid a bounty.
Yeah, $50, I think it was.
No, they were a few years ago. It was big. It was like
Really?
$500.
Oh.
Like you had to bring gear in
Oh,
or something.
okay.
What about wildfires? Last year I went through Jasper and it was like on fire. Like how well their areas, how are they gonna fix it? Because it just doesn't affect them, it affects all the animals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unfortunate reality that, yeah, and unfortunately, there's going to be more such even going forward because of climate change.
I got, or I don't know much about caribou, so I may ask a few questions. Drought?
Yeah.
Drought affects the caribou's herds?
Yes. That affect all birds, including on-ground winter rages.
Wow,
It does.
I did not know that.
Good reason.
Yeah, because it increases their stress level.
Oh, okay.
So they don't go under stress.
Yeah.
Huh. So what are they gonna be using to replenish the upper belt areas? Because I know Red Willow is part of one of the food stuff that these animals eat.
So what they are planning to do is, in that facility, they are going to breed caribou.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when they said that, we had a lot of questions. As,
Yeah, like,
hey,
yeah.
is that going to be the real caribou, or are we going to have like a studio, a fake caribou, But anyways, we just need desperate solution for desperate problem, I guess. And they explained a few things as to some of the measures they are taking. For example, one of the things they are doing is the facility is going to be close to their primary habitat. However, not close enough to the point that there can be also other danger that happens as a result of that, where wolves can come into the facility to begin to hunt them down, or where hunters or humans, we are humans, right, can begin to do all sorts of things. So at that meeting, they consulted with other nations. Like number 4 points. But then I asked the question, also they said, they consulted with the First Nations within and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, did you guys consult people today? I'm not aware. And they're like, oh yeah, we're sorry. We knew we didn't get as much input as we wanted. In fact, I was more surprised because they actually contacted the Caribbean.
That's why I said bullet number 4.
And that's exactly what I'm bringing forward. And I know we discussed this in February that I brought this matter forward again. So that was like, no way, they shouldn't have done that if you're contacting these folks without. Anyways, and luckily I have Elder Les in that discussion too. So, and then after I spoke up, he was also able to speak up like, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
It's not allowed. And so I got the contact and then I'll follow up with them. But the decisions are already.
Josh?
Can we set BC Parks and declaration with our caribou grounds?
Yeah.
And then looking at caribou because they're in such competition with like moose and elk because they weren't around here, which is why we don't have a moose or elk claim.
Oh, really?
Once Moose came up with the gold rush and the elk were in the region, but they compete for the same amount of food, right? So when it comes to the breeding program, is that the same one that they're doing up in Cloud Lake?
No, our study is actually the first of its kind.
Well, Cloud Lake has I guess it's a caribou reserve, so they have events.
No, that's Soto, West Mobile Lake. So they have this maternal pen, and it's been very successful. They started it about 3-4 years ago, where they have they bring in the when they are pregnant, and then they pen them, take care of them when they have their calves. They take care of them before they release them, and they have been very, very successful. West Mobile Lake tried it also, but they have not been successful. But Soto tried it, and it's been very successful. With, I think there are 2 primary heads for there, but yeah, so it's doing well. In fact, they had a whole team dedicated to doing that. So they had teams that go out to look for lichen that they hit, LICHEN. And then they have some other team that guides them down IP that's 24/7. So it's Soto First Nation.
So it's at Soto and Cloud Lake the same, because I get Cloud
Yeah,
Lake is
Cloud
very
Lake.
proud of
Depending.
their reserve.
They have a feeding program,
Yeah, feeding program with them.
the caribou feeding program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like
Yeah,
sounds
they're
like.
telling us, come visit, come see our herd.
Oh, okay. I'm aware of the Soto First Nation. They have over 150 herds.
Well, I mean, and it would be good to reintroduce caribou back into the territory because we do have a caribou client. So I just wondering if I've been here since beginning of time. So maybe we can reach out to McLeod Lake and figure out the program I have and see how we can help PC Parks. Their blunder of not connecting with us and connecting with everybody else around our territory.
But then the question is, are we ready to have like a similar program, say depending or?
I think we have to reach out to McLeod Lake to see how they do
How they
things
do theirs, yeah.
and then see how we can work collaboratively with the other nations to try to bring the caribou back. But I mean, the fact that they're talking about everyone else.
Yeah, the declaration is.
Yeah. Must-
Yeah, and
must.
when we sing camera, I'll come back and touch on that and why I think that happened. I know we discussed this and we had a meeting about it. So from the you asked me to follow up with UNDC, which I did, and I believe I told you. So that's for CSC, and then there's the UN.
Yeah.
So I followed up with UNDC. It started, I believe, in late 2021 or
Yeah, they
22.
were gonna go back to
And
the.
then, the Ministry of
Finance, we never heard anything back.
So I followed up with them, and I CC'd the ED and CC'd Council also. They said they will get back to us. I haven't heard anything now. It's been 2-3 weeks, but I just wanted to circle back and report. And then I know Chief, you said you went into CNC.
Yeah.
Okay, and is that the result there?
We're still in talks with them,
Okay.
about this, what's going on with the property.
So we don't lose track of it. And then I just want to speak about a few projects we have going on. Some of them, they're already in the environmental assessment process, like the August project and the JX Energy project, which we are very much familiar with. There is also a new one, the Mount George. It's not exactly new anyways, because we began discussion with them last year, March. We've had like 2 meetings, myself and Aaron, and they've done some studies. Ethier has also done some studies with them. That's what I've been reviewing this week. Some of the reports they have. It's a wind project, and it looks promising if everything goes all right. Of course, there's a problem with the size, because it also goes to like caribou habitat, which that may become a big issue. But beyond that, if they were to take away the cargo appetite, the project should generate over 1,000 megawatt. However, because the terrain is terrible, it's rich, very steep. You have a slope of sometimes 20%. They are suggesting that okay, they may have to like blow up some of the peak and then flatten it. Otherwise, they can take away some of those identified slopes and then just limit it to where the terrain is sensible and feasibly to work with. If they do that, eventually, and take away all of this raw terrain and all that, it may become like 300 megawatts eventually, which is still great because it can also be introduced in this quantum power that we have. And that brings me to one point I want to discuss with Hans here. I know there's a couple of projects like this, and we know this project has going to be here for a very long time. And I think we should be strategic in partnering and developing ownership. And what I mean is, for example, the wind project, these are the projects that will generate lots of revenue. And not just impact benefit agreement. I know those are great, but this kind of project will be here for a long time.
Yeah.
And we can lead the way.
Yeah, we should lead the way. It's just, I just have a question. Is it because the technology has changed? Because I remember a company going up to Mount George to check the wind. We had at the time our GIS board go up there, and he said it was extremely windy, but they said it wasn't enough wind. And so that was the last time I heard of that until this one came back up. So is it because of the technology has changed for the wind?
It's likely to be the same project.
The same project?
Yes.
For
Last
that?
2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, I realized that this project has actually been in the pipeline for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it has changed hands. So now the investor is actually from Turkey, the current investor now. But I understood last 2 weeks or last week that it has actually changed hands like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, no.
So maybe because of investments, resources and all that. From the report I've read this week about it, they've seen that if you take away the value, at the peak, it's around 11 meters per second, which is like grade A, like best you can ever get. And then that's like 11. If you go towards the valley, it's like 4 to 5 meters per second, which is not really confusing. But on the peak, because it's mountainous, that area, it's really good. But I think they applied for more lands than they actually needed. And that's why I have the problem with that when I was reviewing it. It's too massive. They need to shrink it. But I'm more concerned with the fund leaving from that.
Yeah, we get to leave the project come. The house. How
Yes.
far up can you go?
Yes.
If you wait.
Yeah.
Josh.
Is this the same project where we discussed back in Tree and?
Yeah.
10 years ago.
No, this is like 2000.
This was like 2000, we did discuss this.
2001 and 2, yeah, through.
Yeah, because the issue there was like migratory bats.
See, yeah.
That's the second issue.
Yeah.
So
this project's been around for a very
Yeah.
it's been around. I didn't even realize it until that. Of course, I was going into the
Where were you here in 2000?
But from different reports I've read and then discussion I had, because I also had a discussion with Brian about this, and he was like, oh yeah, they actually did a study. I had a conversation with LTNE because for the migratory birds, they have to do like at least a 2-year study to determine to what extent is that area being used for its massive area. It's massive. And it's some people say it's going to be high storm, and you have a lot of wind turbine and all that, but this can be dealt with. But I'm really more interested in project like this, they are the main cash flow thing. And the bank leading and thinking about something like this rather than the impact benefit agreement, which is great. But beyond that, because the truth is, going forward, it's what we all know. So many of these projects cannot proceed without you signing and saying yes. That's the truth. And if you look at what these folks did, the LNG they just finished up north, what's their name? The Cedar LNG. Isolation. It's in the next 1-2 years, I'm sure they will really involve.
So this project has been around forever. And they only did, they had an issue with the bats.
That back then was migratory bats.
So they've already done a partial study.
And it sounds like is there a bunch of partial studies that you just.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is they're all scattered around.
Yeah.
Like for me, there are some studies on this project that I would have loved to have access to, but I don't even know where to look. And so if you're looking at 20-15 years, it has changed hands a lot. And some of them are proprietary studies. Like I paid for it, so I can't share it with you, even though I'm not interested in the project anymore. But because at that point I was interested in the project, I paid for the study, and then for some reasons we stopped the project because we couldn't secure the funding we needed. So why should I give it to you when I've done the work? Some guys are like that. So I'm still trying to find as much study that has been done already.
Couldn't we just use like OCAP for that type of information?
Well, OCAP, to the best of my knowledge, when I am willing. If I'm not willing, yes, there's OCAP. Like we just signed OCAP with Fire Library, and I'll be touching on that also. Now the Fire Library will be doing the TUS and and socioeconomic study with the BCI group project. We signed that because both parties are willing. But if I'm the custodian of the information you need, I may not be willing to make up with you. I'm not just willing to share it. But I know Brian said he has some information like past stories, so I will also touch base with him to see.
There should be a lot of studies on caribou.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm particular about this project.
How big is the herd by the project?
Good question. So I requested for color data from the Ministry of Forest. So here's how it works. Every year they do either moose counting or caribou counting, or they have some of these what's the word? Not public data. So every year, and some of our elders have participated in this study too. They fly, they do, say for example, caribou counting, and then they put color in some of the harvested ones and then release them back. So that helps them to check the most high used area. So I requested for that data because that can give us a picture of how much of this area is caribou using. It gives a sense of, okay, is there something we can do in terms of how to manage them for X project? And if you recall, when I spoke about the long walk civic project, about I think the last council meeting, I also brought this forward that it's within a caribou habitat, but it's not like high use caribou area. So I requested for that data. We took like online training, and then we signed confidentiality agreement, the normal protocol, and all that. So I'm expecting them to release it soon so that we can see the data. And that gives us a picture of how much of that area is caribou really using. Then that can help us with management decisions.
I'm just curious about, like, I know about caribou and all that, but the wolf situation, how did they let it get so out of hand, like, with the wolf population? Like, didn't they, like, wasn't there a law that they couldn't shoot wolves back then, and then now there's too many?
Even now, there's a lot of arguments.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opinion. And we are also asking the same question.
Yeah, because it's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, we don't get, we asked the same question, and I wish we were in that meeting, that workshop, because people were like, there is obviously, I know, once there's a linear feature, either a road or whatever, that's where they strive. Because they can easily see their target and go after them. So we're also asking the question, like, it's probably high time for them to open it up. Let's reduce their number. And I know the argument is, oh, we have to balance the ecosystem, you know, we have to make sure everything's trying. But it looks like there's been more and more study that says the influence of war on some of our it's massive.
And also, but up in the northern areas, there's also the wild dog situations, like where wild dogs are becoming more and more a problem. Their packs are getting bigger. And there's they're also, that's an issue too, like with the wild dogs, like when people just throw their animals out or whatever, way up in the bush or whatever, they manage to survive. And they, I know up in perhaps in Jamaica, they had a wild dog situation back when we were firefighting up there, and they shot like 36, a pack of 36 dogs. They were wild dogs.
Thank you, you're down to 5 minutes.
The BCI drill, we know we started discussion with them, but I just want to ask for direction on this. So BCI drill wants to engage with the community. And as you are aware that Firelight Group will bringing them 1st of May, they're going to be here 18th of May, they're going to be here 19th of May. And then I'm wondering, should BCI Group be invited to the AGM? Is that, because I'm also being careful not to overload members with, when every time people keep coming for community engagement and they're asking you sort of similar question over and over again. Is that not like going to be a fatigue thing on members? I'm looking at how to balance all of it.
Well, weren't they at our last AGM? Yeah.
So you remember this AGM's done with 1 day, it's not 1 day.
Oh, right, yeah.
1 day. I recommend if they just want to do a questionnaire, and then we'll, what if they want to engage the community?
Yeah, so they're saying they want to get to hear from members directly to get a sense of what they think about the transmission line, what the concerns are, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much similar to what Firelight will be asking also. But then I don't want to create, I don't know, but I'm asking, is it a better approach to create another day and ask members also to come? I don't want that fatigue thing.
I'm serious.
Can't we just do digital?
And they do it online, yeah.
Good option.
Like have set up a meeting here in town, if the HOA is available. Have it all online, so.
And members will be able to look at it.
And members log in and ask questions.
Yeah, you just do like a town hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And the questionnaire thing would be good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they come now, oh my God, it would probably take the whole entire day. And we won't be able to deal with other stuff.
And what if they just like set up a booth, and then if people need to,
They could set up a booth, but it'd be outside. And you'd have to arrange that with or so you can arrange it with city center. But if they have a questionnaire, ask members to fill it out and tell them to have once they get the questionnaire back, then they put the person's name in the drawing. Right?
So I have 2 minutes. I'm checking my time sheet. One last thing on this. The it's just something for council to think about. For this BCI drilling, maybe it should be in camera on that way to say. Yeah, I think it should be in camera. I will leave it here.
Okay.
Other things I will talk about in camera.
Okay, thank you, Gbenga. So we were gonna stop for lunch from 12 to 1, and then we have Lands Department up from 1:45, and then we'll be in camera for the rest of the afternoon after lunch. Just let me know when we're ready. We're ready. We're good.
Okay, I have,
Just a second, Tanya, just a second, we gotta make sure Adam has this on. Okay, looks like we're good to go. It is 1:05, so we will have the lands department. And then once lands is finished, then we in camera. Yeah.
okay, go now?
Yeah. Oh, Tanya.
Okay, hopefully I'll be able to stay in cell service. I just wanted to, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, and hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to go through this today. So the first one is the Pembina temporary access agreement. This is a yearly agreement, and I would imagine it's been done since the beginning of land code. I couldn't find any further documentation to see how long it's been, but the difference in this year is that we upped the rate from $500 to $1,000 per day for access, and if they needed any additional days, they would pay $1,500 instead of $750.
Okay.
And then, so it's just the same access agreement that's been going on for the last few decades. And then I think that's all for that one. I needed a VCR signed and the agreement signed.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I have a VCR here that you send me. Is that one, like taking a person to its authority and acting under the land code hereby grants permission to Shauna Jordan BCLS CLS of Metal Associates Land Survey Limited to enter Fort George IR number 2 to conduct the above mentioned survey and resulting survey plan will be subject to the in a first section review and approval for registration and approve a cost up to $50,000 from Department 793. Is that this one we're talking about?
Yeah, lost cell service. Is it the Pembina yearly agreement?
The access agreement? Yep.
Yeah.
They were labeled, one was for the first set, and then 2, 3, and 4.
I see there are two BCR in your, but I have one BCR. I got in your image, one BCR.
There was one for Pembina, it's called
I have the survey
LTFN.
request.
Oh, I'm going through a tunnel.
I have the survey request BCR, but the other one I don't have.
The first one I sent was a LTFN access agreement 2024-02. And then there's a BCR to go with it.
Okay, so I have the other BCR, I can do it today, but the other BCR, please forward me, we can do it next week.
Oh, okay.
I have the survey BCR.
Okay, because there was 2 BCRs once. So do you want me to start on the survey one then?
Yeah.
Okay. I really wish I was there. Sorry, my apologies. So the survey one, there was a survey done in 1991 on both sides of the reserve, the south side and the north side. The pins and everything was put in. It was never registered. And now the lot lines have changed a bit, and so go in and do a proper survey. And so this is asking for authorization for Shauna Gertson and Matt Mulhaney to complete the survey work, and then that way.
Okay, so basically it's a BCR first to get our lots all lined up properly.
Yeah.
And registered.
Approved cost up to $50,000.
It would cost up to $50,000 in lands. They have money for it.
That's from the old program.
Okay. That is. Okay.
The other one,
The other one she'll send you.
The other one she can do next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's she coming back from?
I don't know. She's on the road. She was just going through a tunnel, I heard. Okay, and the other one was for sure survey, lands update, funding application. Tanya?
I would want to be on it.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, she was going through. So we'll have Crystal do a funding application update and then lands, we'll just table the rest of lands update to next chief and council.
Trying to find it.
There are an update a bit from lands in our package that we can just review over. And remember, as you can see, we're all kind of converged.
It's the folder find it's what she's talking about. It's the plastics action fund that she applied for it. So I find the application as well as Janice. So Shannon is the lead representative on it and I am the co-applicant. Right, so I believe that's what she's talking about. I'm not sure if it's something else.
So you're applying for funding.
Yeah.
Hope you get it.
So I believe we did.
That was a bonus.
Actually,
They applied for funding and they received it.
Unless
We'll
there's something else.
get a future update. From
Yeah.
The next. Unfortunately, I don't know what she's traveling, yes. So, we've signed one BCR, one more BCR will be on its way next week for the Pembina access price.
Yeah, that was good.
Which is good, because it's a small agreement, but it's still only that much, it's about time you bumped up. Price.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's it for lunch. Actually, a lot quicker than anticipated, but
Everybody needs to come back in.
so I'd like to thank everybody for joining online today. And we are now going into the in-camera session for the rest of the afternoon and enjoy the sunshine. See ya. Have a great day.